is made from amino acids. One amino acid, in particular, that's becoming very popular is called glutamate. Glutamate is an excitatory neurotransmitter, meaning it excites the brain and it tells the brain to be active and do things. But too much of it shuts off certain parts of the brain, and it creates a condition called excitotoxicity. Means that there's too much excitation going on in the brain, and so certain parts of the brain actually start shutting down. They start to die. And this can happen if you take too much protein powder, or if you eat too much meat. So when you eat too much meat, there's something in the red meat called creatine. Creatine will increase glutamate, and this can create a similar effect where you're overstimulating the brain. Now the solution to this is just to lower the protein, or you can take something to counter this over. Something that's really good is called L-theanine. This is found in green tea. It can help reduce the glutamate. Also, vitamin B6 helps to prevent Alright, no. 3. Not enough omega-3 fats. Omega-3 fats are essential for the structure of the brain. They're a part of every single cell membrane in your body. But guess what? Our brains have more omega-3 fats than anything else. And what happens when you don't consume enough omega-3 fats? The brain becomes inflamed and parts of it start shutting off. Omega-3 fatty acids are anti-inflammatory. Omega-6 fatty acids are pro-inflammatory. Now we need both of them. But most people are consuming way too much of the omega-6 and not enough of the omega-3. The typical ratio should be 1:1. The ratio in our diet currently is like 20:1. That's insane. So if you want to fix this problem, start consuming more foods high in omega-3 fatty acids. These are things like cod liver, oil, fish, seafood, pasture-raised eggs, grass-fed beef, walnuts, and chia seeds. Alright, next one, not enough fiber. Okay, fiber is usually thought of to help the digestive system, and it does. But fiber is also important for the brain. You know, there's this connection between the small intestine and the brain called the gut-brain connection. Well, fiber is a prebiotic. It feeds the microbes in your gut, and those microbes then produce neurotransmitters, okay, that feed the brain. So if you're not consuming enough fiber, you're really not going to have enough microbes in your gut to make the neurotransmitters that the brain needs. And this can definitely create some issues with certain parts of the brain shutting off. Fiber is mostly found in vegetables, salads, legumes, nuts, and seeds. And by the way, if you haven't seen my video on the relationship between your gut and your brain, check the link below. Alright, no. 5. Too much junk food. Okay, this includes fried foods, fast foods, processed foods, microwave popcorn, chips, cookies, candy, all the stuff that you shouldn't be eating. And it's not just the refined carbohydrates, it's the seed oils, it's the chemical additives, the colors, the flavors, the preservatives, it's the trans fats. All of that combined together is creating a toxic effect on the brain, and it is causing inflammation, and it is causing parts of the brain to shut off. No. 6. Not enough iron. Iron is needed to carry oxygen to the brain. If you're deficient in iron, you're going to have less oxygen in the brain. Parts of the brain are going to shut off. Women are more prone to this than men because they lose iron when they menstruate. And I think the other thing that really depleting iron in people is consuming a lot of refined sugar and refined carbohydrates. I've done other videos on this, but iron is needed to make neurotransmitters, especially dopamine. Alright, number 7. Not enough vitamin D. Vitamin D is probably the most important vitamin for the brain. Studies show that people that have depression are usually deficient in vitamin D, and there's receptors for vitamin D all over the brain. Vitamin D is made from cholesterol. Cholesterol is converted to vitamin D when your skin is exposed to the sun. And so if you're not getting enough sun, if you're not converting the cholesterol into vitamin D, you're not going to have enough vitamin D in your brain. This can lead to a lot of issues with depression, anxiety, even dementia. And of course, the obvious solution is to get more sun. No. 8. Not enough calcium. Calciara is essential for the brain. It helps with memory, learning, concentration, There's even something called long-term potentiation that involves calcium. That's where you store memories. Calcium is also needed for the electrical system of the brain to communicate with other parts of the brain. But here's the problem. Most people are consuming too much calcium, and not the right type of calcium. What happens when you consume too much calcium is that you get calcification in certain parts of the brain, and this can lead to a lot of cognitive problems. And where do you get too much calcium? Well, you get it from dairy products, milk, cheese, yogurt. You also get it from taking too much calcium carbonate, okay, as a supplement. That's the type of calcium that creates a problem. The type of calcium that you need is called bioavailable calcium. Sources of this would be things like nutritional yeast, kale, sardines, pasture-raised eggs, raw milk. Alright, next one. Not enough magnesium. Magnesium is essential for the electrical system of the brain. It's needed to conduct electrical impulses to different parts of the brain. It's involved with over 300 different chemical reactions in the body, including making ATP, which is the energy of the body. Magnesium also helps to relax the muscles, so if you're deficient in magnesium, you can have a lot of tension, stress, and anxiety. And magnesium deficiency is very common because we're always consuming refined carbohydrates that deplete magnesium. And also a lot of people take diuretics that deplete magnesium. And last one, too much alcohol. Now, alcohol can shut off certain parts of the brain. It can actually shrink your brain. And I'm talking about the type of alcohol that you drink in alcoholic beverages, beer, wine, liquor. But there's something else that's interesting about alcohol. It can act as a preservative, but it can also create a deficiency in certain nutrients. So I think it's very important to look at your diet and clean up your diet. Start eliminating the things that don't belong in your diet. And I have a list of 101 foods that I recommend you eliminate. If you haven't seen that video, check the link below. Hey, before you go, if you're benefiting from any of my content, it would be great to hear about your success story. Please share it in the link down below.